स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। After the Tvam Swaha, Tvam Svada, Tvam Hi, Vashatkara, Swaratmika, all that. Yes, sir, Brahma and other gods sang this hymn at the time of the death of the demons, Madhu and Kaitava. Then the Tvam Swaha comes into the part of the Durga Saptashati, one of the stutis. 4 stutis are there in the Durga Saptashati. They call it Chandi, Shri Shri Chandi. And in that, the 4 stutis. This is the first stuti. And after that, Master is telling, yes, but you must assimilate that. Master rose. He mounted the platform in the front of the shrine and saluted the mother. Touching the ground with his forehead, the devotees quickly gathered around him and fell at his feet. They all begged his grace. He descended from the platform and saluted. He descended from the platform and started towards his room, conversing with them. First he sang, I bow my head, says Prasad, before desire and liberation. Knowing the secret that Kali is one with the highest Brahman, I have discarded once for all both dharma and adharma. The laws of nature. Living according to laws of nature is dharma. Living according to the laws of the governing body of the nation, the codes, law codes, social codes, living is called Nyaya. Living according to the rules of king is called Nyaya, and that of nature is called Dharma. In Hinduism, every bit of religion and spirituality we see is based on the nature and the divine. All laws that govern human life is based on the laws of nature, and whole spiritual world is based on the pure divine existence, the being, capital T and capital B, the being. And all else is becoming, being and becoming. The whole universe, all jivas, everything is becoming a part of the nature, and what exists beyond, unchanging, eternal reality, the ocean of bliss, peace, love, absolute, the pure divine absolute, the Brahman is the basis of existence, and the whole nature, Prakriti, that is unchanging, the absolute existence, the whole of relativity is governed. So, dharma and adharma, living according to laws of nature and against the laws of nature. Living against the laws of nature is called adharma. Living according to the laws of nature is called dharma. Now, dharma and adharma apply to those who live within the realm of and jurisdiction of nature. I am within nature, governed by time and space. And the third is time, space, and causation, law of causation. Action and reaction are equal and opposite. This is law of nature, one of the laws. It is governed by time, space, and causation. Causation is everything, whatever is there in whatever condition, has a cause. This table is here, it has a cause, why it is here and why it is in this form. I have a cause. Whatever I am today there is a definite cause behind. This cause and effect. I am the effect of all the past that I have passed through. So, cause and effect. This is a law. So, in living according to the nature's plan is evolution of Jiva. Living according to nature, nature's laws, I evolve to my divinehood. Otherwise, I involve in the samsara, the transmigratory world. I am from body to body, transmigration. Go on from endless. And here there can never be happiness because it's constantly changing flux. If you want unchanging, eternal bliss, peace, love, absolute, you have to go to the transcendental realm, another world, another dimension of existence. If you go there, you are free from the nature. This freedom from entire nature is called mukti, release, liberation, liberated from the nature's laws and nature's bindings. We go beyond to infinite eternal existence, unbound. So this we experience. So when we go beyond, suppose as long as I am in a country, I am bound by that country, laws of that country. When I leave that country and go back to my home country, I am going to a foreign country. I am totally bound by the laws of that country. I have to obey. I cannot do anything other than what is permitted by the country's laws. But the moment I leave that and come back to my home country, I am no more governed by that country, the laws of that country. I have freedom. And I am governed here by my laws, country's laws of my country. And suppose there is no governance, there is no differences, there is no duality, there is oneness everywhere. As if one has become many and each one part knows, I am that, I am that, I am that. Like drops in an ocean. Every drop knows, I am that ocean, I am that ocean. All drops collect together and make one ocean. Like all things make one. This is called Dhamma in Sanskrit. Sri Krishna Dhamma. That all these are dhammas, the kshetras, the dimensions. When we say Kailasa or Gokula, it has total freedom of the jiva from nature. They are not bound by karma. Action and reaction doesn't apply there. And then whatever you see, multiplicity is one. Suppose there is a hill, suppose we do not know what is there. There is a tree in Gokul Dham. Suppose there is a tree. It is totally Krishna standing there as tree. One has become many and each part and knows that he is a inseparable part of. He is Krishna. And he knows the other object is Krishna. Not as Krishna. It is Krishna. That much clarity. It is like they say in the Upanishads, Diviva Chakshuradatam. Diviva. Daytime, with open eyes, how clear the things are. Like that, each Dhamma, suppose Kailasa, every object is smeared, content, everything is Shiva. And other part knows it. Now, just like in my body, my ear is aching, suppose. My hands do not pluck it and throw away. Because it knows, the hand knows, the ear also belongs to me only. And it is not, though eye sees and can never do work of another, and hand has its own work which eye cannot do. They are independent organs working independently. Still, if there is pain in the eye constantly troubling me, I will not pluck my eye and throw, because hands know, oh, that is myself. The eye is myself. Eye sees other object as myself. The whole body is myself, one. Though they have different parts, independently working without the support of others, still each one knows it is a part of one body. Like that, these dhamas, the Shiva, Kailasa, or Vaikunta, or whatever we call Ramakrishna Loka, and all these are one as many. In that we also are there, each one looking at other as the same object. Whatever you see is the Lord. And it's clear as a man sees with open eyes in daylight. So when we go, you see, once for all, both dharma and adharma. Knowing the secret that Kali is one with Brahman, the whole universe is one with the Absolute. Kali represents the relative existence. Brahman represents the absolute existence. The whole universe which appears in the absolute existence is called relative existence. Apara, para, para, para. Para, apara. Apara and para are one and the same. The manifested and the manifestator are one and the same. The two, it appears to, but it has come from that and merges back in. Tree is standing alive, but it has come from soil below, and one day it will go back to the soil and merge in it again. Every part of that, every atom of that tree is soil. Except soil, nothing is there. And it goes back to soil. Source, back to source. Like that whole universe appears. It is, now tree, if you see, it is not different from soil. Very difficult to understand. But we don't say it is soil. But it is soil. So like that, it is Brahman. The whole universe is. That's why we use it up. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. From that, this means universe, that means the unchanging absolute reality, the ocean of bliss, peace, love, absolute. In that the universe appears. Purnamada, that is Purna. Complete, whole. Nothing to be added, nothing can be removed from it. It is infinite, eternal. You cannot take out anything and nor add anything to it. It is Purna by itself. So is this universe, which is its manifestation. It has manifested in it. It is also Purna. From that Purna, this Purna comes out, but still the Purna remains Purna only. It is something like zero. Subtract zero from zero. Zero alone remains. This is also zero, that is also zero. Purna. Something like that. From one, if you decrease one, zero comes. From 2 you decrease, but from 0 if you decrease 0, it remains 0. But here 0 is absence of things. 0 means shunya. From shunya, if you remove shunya, shunya remains. But if you take the otherwise, shunya is absence of all things. Purna of all things. It is Purna, the absolute existence. From that, any amount you remove, nothing affects it. Suppose just to take your intelligence or knowledge, your knowledge. Go on giving knowledge whole your life, your knowledge. Your knowledge giving, by giving, it will not empty. Anybody, a physics teacher, goes on teaching whole his life physics. It never gets emptied. Like that. Any amount coming out, it will not empty. It is avyaya. It will not get vyaya. It will not exhaust. So, knowing that para and apara are same, even in Upanishads, by knowing that and this as absolute, you will be free from all karma. Tasmin drishte paravare. Parahavare. Parahavara. Yeah. Supreme and the non-supreme. Both are whole universe and they are one. We must get the knowledge of the absolute and also universe and also jiva. 3 eternal entities as far as we are bodies. Then it is jiva, jagat and ishvara. Jiva, brahmaiva naparam. This Brahma, jiva is nothing but Brahman. Universe is nothing but Brahman. Sarvam khalvidam Brahma. Jiva naparaha. Brahmaiva. Jivo brahmaiva naparaha. Jiva is Brahman himself, itself, and nothing else. Sarvam khalvidam Brahma. All this is the Brahma, the absolute existence, appearing as limited. It is something like telling this room space is infinite space, because space cannot be cut. It has been appearing to have cut. Space is continuing indent through the wall also. Suppose there is a pot. Pot space is nothing but the absolute space. That is because there is one space. There are not two or many. And now you can cut it. The pot is making it appear to be a separate space, pot space. Pot space, room space, and the absolute space. All these 3 spaces are the same, one space. There is one space. The pot space is absolute space. The room space is absolute space, because space is one. It is appearing to be cut. Like that, universe is appearing to be limited, unlimited. It is same. Content is same. The space is one. Like that, Brahman is one. Universe is a mere appearance. When this is known, is beyond the nature. Is pervading the nature. Is pervading every jiva. I am there in that jiva. I am there in that jiva, pervading everything as Sutratman. That understanding comes. And where is dharma? Where is adharma? Where is the laws of nature? When you know the whole thing is one and I am that. I bowed my head, says Ram Prasad, before desire and liberation, knowing the secret that Kali is one with the highest Brahman. I have discarded once for all both dharma and adharma. Before knowing that we cannot reject or discard, because Sri Ramakrishna discarded dharma and adharma, I too cannot be done. Because knowing that they are one, I am one with God, world is one with God. Knowing that, after that, it doesn't remain for you, it falls off from your awareness forever. You see one. The master continued, do you know the meaning of dharma and adharma? Here, dharma means religious acts enjoined in the scriptures, such as charity, shraddha, feeding poor, and the like. The performance of this dharma is called the path of karma. It is an extremely difficult path. It is very hard to act without motive. Therefore, one is asked to pursue the path of devotion. In path of karma yoga, do all your duties without any intention. It is duty to fulfill the duty alone. Now, desireless, be desireless. You have duties and responsibilities to discharge. Just it is like you have been appointed in a factory and you are appointed there as a manager or a servant. And you are appointed and you are governed by all the laws of the factory. You have to obey them all. And till you retire from there. Once you retire from there, it's over. And these are the laws you have to follow of the institution because you are a part of the institution. As long as you are there, that karma, now it's only you are doing your duty. Suppose you have made a justice in a court, you are appointed by the court to be a justice. By doing anything, giving judgment, a death sentence also, or releasing a accused, will not affect you. It will not become karma. You are doing your duty. Suppose a person has done such an act that he deserves capital punishment, death sentence. He gives the death sentence, but he is not bound by karma. Because he is nishkarma, he is doing his duty without any kamana, desire behind. This is called nishkama karma. He doesn't have his personal desires or any intention other than giving judgment on behalf of the government. So I am acting on behalf of government and nothing of mine is there. They pay me and appointed and given that responsibility. I am discharging the responsibility. I have nothing to do with the individual case. Suppose I take bribe or give a partiality, then I am bound by that karma. Otherwise, doing duty. This karma, doing acts without any motive, without any intention, just for work's sake, just for the responsibility's sake, if he is doing without involvement, without entanglement, as just a doer of fulfilling certain duties, then it doesn't get bound. This is called nishkama karma. Go on doing this nishkama karma and working out your karmas. No new karma gets acquired. Old karmas are getting exhausted. But it is very difficult to do without any intention behind. I am doing nishkama karma. Very difficult to do. Children, I have given birth. Having given birth, I have the responsibility to make them perfect human and keep him, offer it back to the nature. Now, somehow or the other, mine. Just like office, he doesn't feel it is my, the factory owner's loss or gain. His factory owners, I am doing my duty alone. That way, he can never look after the family. Mine somehow comes. Now, even when we look upon all my property and everything as belonging to God, even then there is unconscious inner sense of mineness there. Suppose a vehicle. I'm working in a factory, a vehicle gets lost. Somebody has stolen it. I don't feel the pain or anything because it belongs to the owner of the factory. I will immediately report, vehicle we had kept here, it is not there. And make all efforts to search, but I don't feel the loss. But I own a vehicle. Morning I get up and see it is not there. I was thinking all this belongs to God and not mine. But still, oh, my car is gone. I never go and report to God, the car you had given me has been stolen away. I am nischinta. You will not feel. This is called unconsciously being motivated by mineness, I, mine and ours. This is very difficult. So Karma Yoga is very difficult to do Karma Yoga without any motive, and to take even everything belongs to God, it is not so easy. Only saints were able to do and demonstrate it to us, to follow as much as possible, as much virtuous, as much good, as much spiritual as possible be, and go on expanding your field. Just like a country or a region you have been given, this is yours. Now you want to develop it and expand it further. This expansion, virtue, expand your virtue, goodness, love, kindness, or all this development, expansion becomes a manifestation of divinity. The whole program is manifestation of our inner divinity. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.